Today is August 7th, 2012. We are at the Illinois Veterans Home. We are with James Caves. And his birthday is January 15th, 1924. Interviewing Mr. Caves is
Leanne Lambert,
Emily Poole,
Doretta Ellis.
Sitting in is Hans Holdeman and Byron Holdeman.
and we are working with Quincy University. So, all right. Thank you again for being here. Now we let the questions go. Okay. All right. Let's start off. You told us. Okay. Can you tell us what branch of service you're in?
Yeah, when like I say, I tried to enlist in the Air Force and I couldn't because my eyes, I don't have jet perception. So I had to go home and I was drafted right quick. And I had my choice of branches of the service, so I took Navy.
At first you tried to join the Air Force. What made you want to join the Air Force?
Well, my buddy went to the Air Force, so I wanted to go too. He turned out to be a good pilot.
That's good. Did you keep in touch with him through the war and after, or?
No, I never saw him again until after the war.
You got to share stories. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your boot camp experience and schooling?
Yeah, it was really funny. I went into boot camp at Great Lakes, and I'd only been there maybe 2 or 3 days, and we were going through the normal routines, you know. And the chief came in and he said he wanted volunteers that could type. And since I went to radio school, I typed real good. So I did what they tell you not to do. I volunteered. And it seemed like that was a good thing throughout my career because in boot camp, they sent me over to type up all of the new recruits coming in. And that's what I did all the time I was in boot camp. I didn't have all the marching and stuff that the other people had, which maybe would have did me good, but I just worked at that.
Okay. So when you finished with the boot camp, then where did you go?
Well, they said that I could type real good, so I ought to go to radio school, which I did. And I went to school in Bedford, Pennsylvania. It was used to be a resort. They had golf course and everything. And I went to radio school there and learned the code. And of course they taught everything about how to make up the messages you're going to send to the fleet and all that. And I was lucky enough that they had a rule that said that you could go on Liberty Friday night if you were on the honor roll. So I didn't miss it. I wanted to go.
Worked really hard at keeping those grades up?
Yeah, I did. And I did well through radio school, and when it was finally over, they wanted to give me a test to see if I could stay there as an instructor. But I didn't want to be an instructor, so the fellow, he was sending messages, and I was supposed to type them down. Well, intentionally, I made some mistakes because I didn't want to stay there. And then I went to Signalman School, I told you, in Stamford, Connecticut. And I went through that, and I could pick my ship, like I said, so I picked a merchant ship. I didn't want to be a lot of spit and polish officers. And there was three gunmen on the ship, and the boatswain mate and myself. No officers at all. And it was really nice because you could go down to the mess hall in the morning and order what you wanted to eat, and they'd get it for you.
You didn't have to wait in line behind the officers.
But I was on there about, like I said, I think about 4 months, something like that. And they took me off of that ship at Brooklyn, New York, and I was awaiting assignment. So I had to go down to the radio shack every morning, and they were taking different people for the CBs or the cruisers or aircraft or minesweepers or whatever. And I didn't like any of them really. So they had this sign one day that they wanted volunteers for hazardous overseas duty. And my buddy was with me, and I said, let's sign up for that. And he said, are you crazy? I said, no, I'm not crazy, but they're taking people for the amphibious forces, and I don't like that. So we both signed up for it. And we didn't know what it was. And I had to wait a couple of weeks. And then they took me to Washington, D.C. A group of us. About 30, I think, something like that. And we had to go to the State Department and get passports and send our uniforms home. And we still didn't know what we were going to do, you know. But we left, we had an officer in charge of us, and we left Washington, D.C. by train and went across country to Southern California. And from there we caught a ship, and still didn't know where we were going. And about 2 days out, the officer opened the orders up and said, you're going to China. So we went down around Jamaica and past Australia and up past Sumatra to India, and Bombay is where we debarked from the ship, and we took a narrow gauge railroad from Bombay clear across India to Calcutta. And there was people on top of the train, holding on to the side of the train, waiting on the train. That's the way they do over there. And I got to Calcutta, and they took us out to a tent camp. And there was 4 of us to a tent, still waiting to do something, we didn't know what. And then one day they came and told me, they gave me a Thompson machine gun and a .45 and said, you're ready to go to China. So they took me to the airport in Calcutta, and we flew over the Himalayas into China. And the plane we were in didn't have any oxygen. So we had to fly through the mountains rather than go over them. But anyway, we made it to China, and it was Kunming, China, Kunming. And the first, they took us to a hostel, and the first night I was there, I spent the night with my nose down in the mud because they had an air raid at the airport where the Flying Tigers were at the time. there wasn't a regular Air Force, it was a volunteer flying Tigers. And then they built us a place about, I guess about 20 miles from Kunming, kind of on the side of a mountain where it would be easy, or wouldn't be easy to be bombed or anything. And they built us, the Chinese did the building. They built us a radio shack, the antenna and everything, and all of the transmitters inside, and a barracks down the hill about quarter mile, something like that. And what we did was twofold, really. Half of us copied the Japanese code and gave it to the decoder to try to break. And my job was they'd make up messages to send to the headquarters at NPN in Guam and to the fleet, and I would send all the messages to those points, to Guam and to all the ships. And one of our crew, they dropped on the coast of China, and he observed the Japanese shipping moving around, and then he would radio back to us, and we'd send the information to the fleet so they could take care of that. And that's where I spent the entire war, was right there. There was, the only battle there was after the war. The governor of the province had a beef with Chiang Kai-shek, and Chiang Kai-shek's people were coming across the rice paddies, and the governors were up on the side of the mountain where the Bank of China was, and all of this shooting was going right over our barracks.
Wow. So that was the combat that you saw, was kind of them against each other? Did you see any other combat from where you were?
No. What I did was, like I say, send the messages to the fleet. And the Japanese captured that fellow that was on the coast, and his name was Parsons. And some of the group followed it, and they hit him every night, even in a water tower one time they hit him. But they never could get him back. But after the war, when I was on a ship coming home, we got word that they had found him. He was still alive and okay. That group was set up by President Roosevelt and Chiang Kai-shek, and we were a part of the military intelligence.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
I beg pardon?
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Oh, I think we got Bronze Star or something like that.
Bless your heart.
So when you were on the mountainside, how did you stay in touch with your family while you were gone?
Oh, we sent letters, that's all we could do. My mother made some fudge candy and sent to me. Took about 3 months to get it, but it was sure good.
Did you have supplies that were there? Did they keep you well supplied? Or
Oh yes, we were well supplied, and there was the only time that we had any concern was one time the Japanese got pretty close, and they told us that if they got close enough to us to where they might capture us or something, that we would have to walk across the Gobi Desert. That's the only way out.
Thankfully, they didn't.
No,
they didn't make it.
Nope.
Good. Let's see.
But as far as battles and exciting stuff like that, I did not do.
Well, you did lots of exciting stuff. How did you entertain yourself? Did you guys work the whole time?
Well, we played a lot of cards, and a couple of fellas would buy some vodka in 13-gallon crocks.
Oh my God.
And they would have it in their room, and we'd all go over there at night and drink vodka, and somewhere we got a hold of some lemon powder that we would put in it to make it taste a little better.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's the next question then. Were there any pranks that you guys pulled? Maybe due to the vodka or not.
The only prank that I pulled that I know of any of them, was when we were in the railroad depot in Washington, D.C. And there was a fellow there from the South, really a nice fellow, but he was reading a newspaper. So I slipped up in front of him while he was reading, and I set fire to the bottom of it. And it burned up in his hands. And he chased me all over the airport.
Oh, that's a good
That was the only thing.
Oh, gosh.
Do you have any photographs from while you were over there? Was that any of that?
Oh, I guess I've got a few, yeah, but I don't know whether I've got them here or whether they're still in Florida or not.
Your daughter might have it.
Or my daughter is.
What about a diary? Did you keep a diary?
No. After the war, they flew us into Shanghai, and Shanghai is divided up among, it'd have the American school, it'd have the German school, it'd have France school, it'd have all these different schools. So I went to the American school, and that's where I stayed. That's where I bedded down. And I worked, the Bund was the big street right along the Yangtze River, and we had a radio station on the third floor of the building, and I worked in that until I was told I could come home. Then I had to go to the Navy base and buy a uniform to go home in, because we didn't have any.
Do you remember how you felt when you finally got to be home?
I was pretty relieved.
Yeah. Thankful.
And I was home about, I guess about 2 months, and I got a letter from the State Department, and they wanted me to come back and work for them and do the same kind of stuff. So that's my career.
Do you think that your military experience influenced your thinking about the war? Like, how did you think or feel about the war at that time?
Well, we were so far removed from the battles of Japan that we never even had time to think about that. We just were worried about our own work. And that unit was called SACO, I told you, and that stands for Sino-American Cooperative.
Do you know what's Sino?
Sino, S-I-N-O,
Okay.
American Cooperative. And see, the reason, I don't think you ought to publish such a thing, but the reason that they took Navy people to do those jobs is because the Chinese had no Navy. So they couldn't do states. There was never an American soldier that ever fought a battle in China. There were other units of SACO that did different things. They would work with the Chinese Army and help blow up the bridges and different things, you know. But I did not get into that. All I did was at the radio station.
Did you keep in touch with any of the people you worked with while you were there once you got home?
No, I never did. I've still got a roster of the names of everybody that was there when I was. But other than that, they have a reunion once a year, the group, and a military intelligence person from Taiwan came over and awarded us medals and plaque and a letter of commendation for helping China during the war. And I've got it up in my room.
This isn't on here, but this is something I'm curious about. Have you got to go on the honor flight yet?
No, and I don't think I would go.
Yeah, no. Just seems like it's a neat program.
When I was working after the war, I flew so many miles that I'm not interested in flying.
How do you think that your Navy service then added to the experiences that affected the rest of your life?
Well, it really did, because like I say, the first job I had was at Gates Rubber, and I kept looking for something else. And I eventually seen an ad for an OS&D clerk that's over shorts and damages at a truck line. And I applied for that and got it. And I worked at that for quite a little while. And then I was on the way to work one day, and a fella from another truck line, Moab Transportation, met me at an intersection. And I didn't even know him, but he hollered up and he said, he knew me, and he said, come down and see me. He said, I've got a job for you. So I went down to see him and went to work for him. And that was Moab, M-O-A-B, Transportation. That's a city in Colorado, or Moab, Utah, I mean. And from there, Garrett Freight Lines bought us out. So they came into Denver, and the vice president of Garrett came to town one day, and he talked to me, and he said I should go into sales. And I told him I didn't know anything about sales. So that went on, and then he came back and said it again, and I told him, I said, well, I'll try it if I can come back to this job, if I can't make it, you know. So I went into sales, and luckily I did real well, and I worked up to sales manager, and then another company in town, Coast Car Loading Company and Cartage Company, the owner of it came to me and offered me a job as general manager. So I went to that company, and we talked about it over dinner down at the club he had, and I went there without them knowing I was going to be a general manager. So I rode with all the truck drivers and learned what they wouldn't want me to know.
You were undercover boss way back then. Undercover boss.
And then they announced that I was a general manager. And I finally was vice president and general manager of that company.
Wow.
You went a long ways from that $5 in your pocket.
I did.
Wow.
And the gentleman that hired me and had built the company up, it was probably a $20-30 million company. And someone told him about Lloyd's of London, and he invested in that. And Lloyd's of London assigned risks, certain risks to different people. And unfortunately, they assigned him one that was bad. And he was going to lose every nickel that he had. He had his own jet, he had his yacht, he had everything. And he was going to lose all that, so he went home and got a 45 and blew his brains out. Wonderful man. But he couldn't stand to lose everything he had. And I can understand that.
And is that's where you retired from, or did you go to a different place of work after that?
I went to another company later after. See, trucking was deregulated. And when they did that, all of the big companies disappeared. Like Transcon and Denver, Chicago, and so on. They disappeared. And I went to work for a local company that served the desert areas. And I worked for them for quite a while as sales manager. And then after the deregulation, two brothers owned the company. And I went with them to all of the different terminals they had and asked the people to take $1 an hour decrease in order that he could stay in business. And it's hard to believe, but they both bit down. So he closed up. And the one terminal, just the one terminal in Los Angeles, he still owed $24,000 on. And he sold it for $2 million.
That's a turnaround.
And all these other terminals all over, one up in Rosemead, California, he sold it to the post office for a lot of money, and every one of them he didn't need all those people, and how ignorant they were not to take the $1 decrease.
To have a job and.
Yeah, he didn't need them; they needed him. And that's where I ended up.
Okay, I got another question for you about when you were over on the mountain. What kind of food did they serve you? What did you like?
Oh, we had a lot of Chinese food.
I asked for that, didn't I?
Yeah, but did you have a favorite dish?
Well, you know, I really got to like fried rice.
Okay.
With fried rice with chicken or eggs or whatever, you know. And I really got to like that. And it was funny. The Chinese, they took care of the cooking and everything, you know. And the first thing they picked up out of the American language was the cuss words.
Oh, no. Okay.
It's kind of like kids do that, too.
And it was so funny. See, ding hao means okay. And they would say, I shouldn't say this, don't put
We'll edit it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They'd say, God damn son of a bitch, and ding hao. And they didn't know what they were saying.
Tie it all together. That's great.
Were you able to listen to any music over there? Did you listen to any music?
Never heard it.
Really?
Nope.
What did you do for fun besides play cards
And drink vodka.
And drink vodka and lemon and eat fried rice?
Not an awful lot.
Wow.
Once in a while we would the whole group would go into Kunming, and we'd spend the evening in a nightclub someplace, you know. And they would have many Chinese girls that you could dance with, and this sort of thing, you know. But that was the only other thing we had.
What kind of music did you dance to? Do you remember?
They have better nightclubs than the United States ever had. They really did.
Okay.
Americans were in the band, and the music was really terrific.
Let's see.
Not too exciting, is it?
No,
it really is. I'm just
very
looking like,
exciting.
what else do I want to know? What did you think of your officers and or your fellow soldiers while you were there?
We only had one
I
officer,
only had one.
and he was fine. He didn't bother us at all.
Well, that's good.
No. Matter of fact, after the war, it was hard to get used to having officers around, and we didn't pay too much attention to them.
Yeah. You kind of skated under the radar on a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the way home on the ship, there was nothing to do, so I volunteered to help in the radio shack on the ship, which I did. And one day my buddy and I went up on the main deck, and we didn't have our life preservers on. So, you know, when you're young, you're a smart ass. And the captain called us up to his office, and we had to scrub down the inside of the smokestack. That was our punishment for not wearing a life preserver.
I think he's been interviewed before because he's done really good at covering questions even when we don't ask him.
Did you ever join a veteran association or
Oh, yeah.
veterans group? And
I'm a life member of the VFW,
okay.
and I used to belong to the Legion, but I don't know, I got to a place where they didn't have a Legion, so I just dropped out. But I'm still a lifetime member of the VFW.
How often do you get to see your daughters? Do they come visit you here?
Yeah, matter of fact is they were here about a month ago. Both of them came at the same time.
That's nice.
And they stayed here 4 days, and we went a number of places. One of the special interests was up in Galesburg, where they have a memorial for Illinois soldiers, for sailors, and they have bricks in the earth, and it's got your name and rank and the unit you're with in it.
Did you save any of your uniform pieces?
No.
Nothing. I have my grandpa's peacoat.
Oh, do you?
I do, and it still has his name and things stitched on the inside.
I had a leather jacket with the Flying Tigers emblem on it, but over the years it kind of disappeared because of wear it out.
Well, that peacoat that I have is still, if you look at it, you can't tell that it's as old as it is.
Those are pretty good.
Yeah, I wore it for many winters, but when I started losing buttons, I was worried. So I kind of put it away in a safe place.
But that's about the story of me.
Well, thank you so much. If you could, I'm just going to ask you one last question.
Okay.
If you could change anything, what would it be? Do you have any regrets about anything, any of your experiences while you were in the service? That is wonderful.
Not a thing.
You've been blessed.
I have been blessed.
Good.
I'm curious. Did you meet your wife before the war or after?
After the war.
After the war.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And
They have a convention. My unit has a convention once a year, and still do. And a military intelligence man comes from Taiwan every year to be in it. But I never went to one. They sent my medals and stuff to me because I couldn't afford it, frankly.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
Just for the record, you served in World War II, right?
I beg your pardon?
You served at World War II, right?
World War II?
World War II, yes.
And you're going to say dates of service?
No, we just need to know that.
Okay.